Hi, I'm Paul Friedman. I'm the founder of the Marriage Foundation, and the topic that we have at hand is actually a question. Why does my husband criticize everything that I do? It's a good question. It's a legitimate question because chances are that he is very critical of you, and I'm going to try to give you some insight into this, not so you could blame him or tell him, hey, blah, 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 and nail him for this, but so that you can make some changes in your perception, changes in your responses. Not that you're going to change him. You might, if you go far enough with learning how to be married. So subscribe to this channel. You could change everything in your marriage. We get comments all the time about people who say, you know, I want to take the course, but I couldn't afford it, but I've been watching you and it's changed my marriage. We were on the brink. So there's a lot to be learned just by watching these videos. And this question really opens a lot of things up that people generally don't know. Because if you go to a psychologist and you say, why does my husband criticize everything that I do? They're going to tell you he's a narcissist or some stupid thing like that. Your husband's not a narcissist. He's not a mean guy. He's not a negative guy. All those labels, by the way, are insane because we all have good and bad qualities. Why pick one and label the whole person? Why would you do that? You know that it doesn't work that way. You have some negative qualities. How would you like to be labeled as one of those? It's not fair. It's not even reasonable. It doesn't make any sense. When it's time for us to work on those aspects of ourselves that are causing us pain and suffering, we slowly become aware of it and we work on it. And that's how we evolve as human beings. But if someone tells you, hey, this is your biggest flaw, you can't see it. I'm going to tell you a story. So I've led a very spiritual life for a lot of years. And I was with my spiritual mentor. He was a monk. And I called him brother. And one day I took advantage. We were riding around in Arizona, heading for Sedona, the back way. It's a very beautiful country. And I took advantage of the situation, just the two of us. I said, so brother, what is my greatest flaw? And he kind of chuckled and he said, I'm not going to tell you. And, you know, because we're not supposed to tell. And I said, please, brother. And he said, all right, I'll give you about 20 minutes. When we get to that peak over there, I'll tell you. So for 20 minutes, I just kept saying to myself, don't react, don't react, don't react. Because we're defensive about that stuff. And there's reasons why. It's a psychophysiological condition of having a body that we're naturally defensive of anything that we may see as an attack, because self-preservation is the number one cause that our body has, and so the mind starts responding to that. So for 20 minutes, okay, don't react, don't react, don't react. So finally we get to that peak, and I go, so brother, what's my biggest flaw? And he tells me, instantly. I go, but brother. It wasn't until then I realized, bam, I couldn't control myself. And I didn't hear what he said. I mean, I heard it clearly, but my mind wouldn't retain it again for the same reason. You see, we are not able to work on ourselves unless we can understand that that particular attribute is causing us a problem. So when we get married, we recognize that about our spouse, about your husband. And so you make an agreement with yourself that I understand when he's ready, he will see it himself, and he may not see it for his entire life. And as his soulmate, it is not my place to point out his flaws. It is my place, based on my vows, based on my desire to bring him happiness and love, to ignore his flaws. And if I'm being tweaked by his flaws, then that is a flaw within me that I can do something about. So why does my husband criticize everything I do? It's a flaw. Where it derives from does not make any difference. It won't help you to know. You can imagine all kinds of reasons. And when people write into our counselors, which you can't do, it's a free service, all the time people talk about, oh, he had such a hard childhood, or his mother is very domineering, or his father blah, 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 or his brother blah, blah, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because you're not going to change him. You don't want to change him. It's not why you married him. You do want to change yourself. How do you want to change yourself? You want to open your heart more and more, because that's where the joy is. You want to nurture the love that you have for him, because that's where the happiness is derived. And you've had that experience, maybe just looking at your kids when they were asleep or something, and your heart just goes, bam, it just opens up. What joy you feel. No one did anything. Your heart just opened up. And you went along with it because there was no challenge. There was nothing scary in it. And our drive to survive, our self-preservation, doesn't kick in when that happens with our kids. But it does kick in when it happens with our husband. How ironic is that? Do you realize he's the only person that you have ever chosen to love with no background of compulsion? He's not your kid, so you don't have to love him. He's not your brother or sister or mother or father, so you don't have to love him. There's no drive that is based in your body, an instinctive drive, getting you to love him. You made a choice, free choice. He's the only one in the whole world. And now you're criticizing him for criticizing you. How ironic, isn't that crazy? So, here's the advice. Learn to love him. If you're having a problem with a particular attribute of his, look at your own filters, your own way of perceiving things. Understanding that until you learn how to master your mind, there is no permanent joy in life. In your marriage, or anywhere else. And this is why people are married for a time, and then something happens, and they jump to another. And then to another, and then to another. Because they haven't learned. It's no one's fault. Our society is evolving. We're cutting edge. We're sharing things that are truthful, so you definitely should subscribe so you can understand. Because when you understand your marriage, then you are on the road to experiencing marital bliss. It's real and it's achievable. And many of our clients who have taken our courses have let us know that. So, I thank you for visiting. I hope you do so again. I'm Paul Friedman. I'm the founder of the Marriage Foundation. God bless you and take care. Take care.